think of life as a ledger, not just a checkbook, not just a bank statement, a true ledger where everything counts and nothing is hidden from the final tally. Habits, my friends, are the line items. Every day, every hour, you're making deposits or withdrawals. The only question is, what's your balance at the end of the month? At the end of the year? At the end of your life? It's a powerful thing to realize you're the accountant for your own potential. Most people are so busy looking at everyone else's ledgers, what they have, where they go, what they drive. They forget to keep track of their own. But that ledger's always running, whether you check it or not. Every action, every choice, every little moment of discipline or lapse gets recorded. There's no hiding from it. Let me break it down. Discipline is a deposit. Procrastination is a debit. Planning, that's a deposit. Winging it, hoping for the best, big debit. Reading a good book, deposit. Skipping your study, debit. Now, none of these seem big in the moment. Just like a few dollars here or there doesn't make you rich or poor overnight. But over time, the pattern tells the story. What's fascinating is that most people underestimate the power of their small decisions. They think one day doesn't matter, but it's the habit of one day that turns into every day. The ledger doesn't care if you meant to make a deposit, but didn't. Intentions aren't counted. Actions are. Here's the great part. You get to decide every single day what you're building and what you're burning. That's awareness. That's what separates people who grow from people who drift. Are you building an account of strength, skill, wisdom, or are you burning up opportunities, time, and talent? Each day, stop and ask, did that action add to my balance, or did it subtract? Picture yourself walking into the bank of life at the end of each week. The teller hands over your statement. Some weeks, you might feel proud. Other times, you'll see the withdrawals stacking up. Don't be discouraged. This isn't about perfection. It's about becoming aware. Most people live on autopilot, never checking the ledger until they're forced to, by circumstance, by a crisis, by regret. Here's the simple truth. Every habit is a vote. You're either voting for the person you want to become or against. The results don't show up all at once, but they show up eventually. So make the invisible visible. Start noticing where the money goes, so to speak. You might be surprised at the pattern. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's where change begins. Not with a big dramatic speech or a sudden vow. Just the quiet decision to become the kind of person who checks the ledger, who cares enough to know, am I moving ahead or falling behind? Remember, what you're not changing, you're choosing. If you ignore the withdrawals, you're still responsible for the balance. If you celebrate the deposits, keep making them. Let your habits become your silent partners in building the future you want. The ledger of life is always open. The balance is always changing. The only question is, are you paying attention? If there's one lesson that's paid dividends in my life, it's this. Growth comes from daily deposits, not grand gestures. You don't get wealthy by making $1 million deposit once in your life. You get wealthy by saving a little, often. It's the same with wisdom, health, and success. The small acts repeated, those are the deposits that compound into greatness. Some people think they need to devour an entire library overnight to become knowledgeable. But here's the secret. If you read just 10 pages a day from a good book, in a year, you've read about a dozen books. That's more than most will ever read after they finish school. 10 pages. That's a daily deposit. It doesn't look like much, but watch what happens over time. Or think about this. You don't need to run a marathon every morning. What matters is that you put in the effort consistently. 20 minutes a day, a brisk walk, a set of push-ups. That's all it takes to keep the account growing. Skip a day and you don't notice much. Skip a month and your balance is slipping. I've seen people wait for the perfect day, the perfect motivation, the perfect weather. You know what happens? They end up making no deposit at all. But the ones who win, they learn that consistency trumps intensity. A little discipline practiced daily will always outpace bursts of enthusiasm, followed by long droughts. It's the same with your finances. If you save a little every paycheck, maybe 5%, maybe 10%, you may not even feel it missing. But one day, you'll look at that account and wonder, how did that happen? It happened because you made deposits when no one else was looking, and you let time do the heavy lifting. Planning is another powerful deposit. Most people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they do planning their lives. But the simple act of reviewing your goals in the morning, sketching out the day, considering what matters, that's a deposit that pays off in clarity and productivity. Don't underestimate the power of a quiet morning with a notebook and a cup of coffee. Let me tell you, the real magic isn't in the deposit itself, but in the compounding. One seed doesn't give you a forest, but if you keep planting, the forest comes. One day's discipline is like one seed. A year's discipline is like 1,000 trees. Don't let anyone convince you that your small acts don't matter. They're the only things that ever have. Now here's where it gets exciting. Over time, the little deposits begin to yield interest. You get stronger, smarter, wealthier, not because you did anything dramatic, but because you stayed the course. And let me tell you, when others finally notice the balance you've built, they'll say it happened overnight. But you'll know better. You'll know it happened because you made daily deposits. Even when it felt slow, even when no one was watching. Consistency is the secret ingredient. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's unstoppable. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you start making deposits today, tomorrow, and the next day. Before you know it, the balance is growing, the interest is compounding, and you're on your way to a life of abundance. So, ask yourself, what deposit did you make today? And what will you make tomorrow? Because in the end, it's not what you do once in a while that counts. It's what you do every single day. Now let's turn the page and talk about the other side of the ledger. Those little withdrawals, the debits that often go unnoticed. You see, everyone's focused on making deposits, but few realize just how quickly small debits can drain the account. Not all losses come from big, reckless decisions. Most come from what you allow to sneak by day after day. Think about procrastination. It doesn't feel dramatic, right? It's just a little delay, a promise to start later. But every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you're making a withdrawal. The task gets heavier, not lighter, and before long, your habit account is overdrawn. You might not notice it in the moment, but look up after a year of putting things off, and suddenly you're way behind where you wanted to be. Now let's talk about gossip. It might seem harmless, just a little chatter at the water cooler, but every time you participate, you're draining your credibility and your relationships. Subtle debits that can cost you dearly over time. The habit of speaking about others behind their backs is like quietly leaking oil from the engine. You don't see it on day one, but the damage accumulates. And then there are the excuses. Oh, the stories we tell ourselves. Why it's not our fault, why we can't change, why the timing isn't right. Each excuse is a silent withdrawal from your own belief in yourself. After enough withdrawals, the account is empty, and you've spent your confidence with nothing to show for it. Wasted time. Another big one. You think it's just 5 minutes scrolling here, 10 minutes there, but add it up at the end of the week, and you might find you've lost hours that could have been invested in something meaningful. These are the hidden debits, the ones that eat away at your future when you're not watching. Here's the thing about these little losses. They compound faster than gains if you let them. You see, with investments, you need patience and discipline to see results. But with losses, it's like gravity. If you don't fight back, you're pulled downward automatically. A little neglect today, a little carelessness tomorrow, and suddenly the deficit feels too large to overcome. You must become a detective in your own life, hunting down these hidden drains on your account. Where are you giving away your energy for free? Where are you paying interest on mistakes you could have avoided? The losses you ignore become habits just as quickly as the deposits you cherish. Here's a principle worth remembering. Neglected losses grow in the dark. If you don't bring them to light, they'll bankrupt your progress. You can't afford to let small bad habits hide in the shadows. Shine a light on them, and you take away their power. So reflect for a moment. What are your most common debits? Is it the habit of just one more episode late at night? The routine of running late because you hit snooze? The habit of saying yes to things that don't matter just to please someone else? Every single one has a cost. Some you pay immediately, some you pay over time, but all of them show up on the statement eventually. Remember, it's not the mountain that wears you out. It's the pebble in your shoe. Don't let small hidden debits drain a lifetime of potential. Become vigilant. Guard your account fiercely. Because my friends, and the greatest fortunes and the deepest deficits are built one small decision at a time. And here is the key, the art of awareness, what I call tracking your transaction history. It's one thing to know that habits deposit or debit your account, but it's another thing to take a real look at the ledger. Most folks avoid it. They think if they don't check the balance, maybe the debts won't show up. But life doesn't work that way. You don't get to skip the audit. Think of it this way. A business that never checks its books is on the fast track to bankruptcy. It doesn't matter how good the products are, how friendly the service is. If the books aren't balanced, trouble is on the horizon. The same is true in your life. If you never stop to reflect, to take inventory, you'll never know if you're moving forward or backward. So how do you start? One of the best habits I ever picked up was journaling. Not the kind where you write a novel every night. Just a few honest lines about what you did, what you learned, where you could have done better. Journaling isn't about impressing anyone. It's about shining a flashlight on your day so you can see clearly. Some days, you'll write about a win, a deposit you made. Other days, you'll record a debit, maybe a shortcut you took, or a moment you let slip away. Over time, the pattern emerges. That's when the real growth starts. Reviewing your goals is another powerful practice. Most people write their goals once, then forget about them. But goals are like seeds. If you don't tend them, they don't grow. Make it a habit to check in with your goals, weekly or monthly. Are you closer than you were last month? Or have you drifted? This simple act reveals what's working and what's costing you progress. And then take a good look at your habits. Really look. Not just the good ones you like to brag about, but the sneaky ones you pretend aren't there. Evaluate them with a clear eye. No emotion, no judgment, just the facts. Did you spend the time you said you would on your craft? Did you follow through on your promises to yourself? It's amazing what you'll discover when you measure honestly. I've always said, what gets measured gets improved. If you're not tracking, you're guessing. If you're not reflecting, you're repeating yesterday. The value of looking back is not to feel guilty, The value is to gain wisdom, to see what's serving you and what's stealing from you. Let me tell you, sometimes the hardest part is facing the truth on the page. You look at the ledger and see a string of debits where you hoped there'd be deposits. Don't get discouraged. That's not failure. That's feedback. It's the wake-up call that says, it's time to turn things around. Without that reflection, you'll keep making the same mistakes. With it, you gain the power to change the balance. Make a regular appointment with yourself. Maybe Sunday evening, maybe the first day of the month. Sit down with your journal, your goals, your habits, and do a little audit. Where did you win? Where did you lose? Where are you stronger? Where do you need to course correct? The answers are there if you're willing to look. The truth is, you can't improve what you won't examine. Don't be afraid of your transaction history. Be curious about it. Let it teach you. Over time, that simple act of reflection builds a track record of growth, learning, and real, lasting wealth. Not just in your bank account, but in your character. Now, here's a principle that shaped the course of my life and business: the law of accumulation. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to have all the momentum, why success comes easier for them, it's not luck, it's not talent. It's this simple law working quietly in the background, rewarding them for every deposit, every disciplined act, every decision to do what most won't. Picture a snowball rolling down a hill. At first it's small, just a handful of snow, but with each turn it gathers more. Every extra flake sticks, and soon enough the snowball is rolling faster, bigger, and stronger than when it began. That's accumulation. Habits work the same way. Every deposit of discipline, every minute spent learning, every act of kindness, every promise kept, these add up, and then they start to multiply. Now here's the honest truth. This law doesn't care what you're accumulating. It works just as powerfully for negative habits as for positive ones. If you make daily deposits of procrastination, negativity, or neglect, those will compound too. One missed day becomes two. One excuse becomes a routine. Before you know it, the negative account has a snowball of its own, rolling downhill and picking up speed. That's why you can't cheat the compound effect. You can't expect a harvest if you didn't plant, water, and nurture the seeds. You can't expect health if you've let unhealthy choices pile up for years. The law is neutral. It simply rewards what you've consistently done, not what you wish you had done. Think about the people who show up day in and day out. The ones who keep their promises, even when it's inconvenient. The ones who read a few pages every night, who get up early, who invest a little each week. They may not look extraordinary at first, but watch them over 5 years, 10 years. Their account grows, their confidence builds, and opportunity seems to find them. Now, some folks look at others and think, it must be nice. But here's the truth. Anyone can start the process of accumulation. You don't need a big break. You don't need the perfect environment. All you need is the commitment to keep making deposits, even when it feels like progress is slow. The slowest compounding is always at the start. That's when most people give up. But those who stay the course get to experience the tipping point. When effort turns into momentum, and momentum turns into a lifestyle. You see, accumulation is a double-edged sword. It will work for you or against you. Every day, you're either getting closer to your goals or drifting further away. There's no standing still. The compound effect is always in motion, and it never takes a day off. So ask yourself, what's accumulating in your life right now? Are your actions creating a snowball of discipline and opportunity, or a snowball of regret? The beauty is you can change direction anytime you choose. One deposit may seem small, But over time, it becomes the foundation of a fortune, of wealth, of knowledge, of reputation, of health. The law of accumulation is a silent partner, always keeping score, always adding up the little things, and always ready to reward the consistent. So, never underestimate the power of a single act, a single decision, a single deposit, because with enough time, those little things become everything. The law of accumulation will see to it. There comes a point in every journey when you stop, look at the balance, and realize you've been overdrafting your own potential. Maybe it's a quiet Sunday night. Maybe it's after a disappointment. Or perhaps it sneaks up on you in the middle of a seemingly ordinary day. That moment, my friends, is what I call the turning point audit. It's the wake-up call. The day you look at your own ledger and admit, something's got to change. Now, don't misunderstand. This isn't about beating yourself up for past debits. It's about facing the truth with courage. You sit down, take out your ledger, and look at the habits that are costing you more than you can afford. Maybe you notice too many days spent drifting, too many promises left unkept, too many opportunities brushed aside because comfort was easier than growth. That's not failure. That's the beginning of wisdom. Most people want to change their life, but they're still stuck in the cycle of emotional excuses. I'm too tired. I've always been this way. It's not the right time. These excuses feel real, but if you put them on the ledger, they have no value. They're not assets, they're liabilities. The turning point audit is when you stop letting emotion dictate your inventory. You bring logic to the table. What are the facts? What's really holding you back? Where are the leaks? It's like a business owner reviewing the books after a tough quarter. At first, the numbers sting, but only by seeing them clearly can you make the decisions that turn things around. You realize that overdrafting your potential isn't a single dramatic event. It's the sum of 100 tiny withdrawals, each one so small it barely registered, until you add them all up. This audit is a moment of power, not shame. You don't need anyone's permission to start making deposits again. You simply make the choice. From now on, I'm going to protect my balance. I'm going to guard against those little leaks. I'm going to start making deposits, one at a time, until the tide turns. Replace emotional reasoning with a logical inventory. Write it down. Don't just think about what you hope will change. Count the habits that matter most. What's one debit you could eliminate this week? What's one deposit you can commit to starting now? When you turn the process into numbers, you turn hope into a plan. I've seen it happen time and again. People sit down, run their audit, and something clicks. They realize they've got more power than they thought, more choices, more potential. It's never too late to change the ledger. The compound effect doesn't care when you start. It just wants you to start. Remember, the turning point doesn't come from waiting for better circumstances or a new year. It comes from clarity and decision. The clarity to see where you really are. The decision to move in a new direction. That's when the magic begins. One honest audit, one act of courage, and suddenly you're back in control of your life's account. So if today is your turning point, take the audit, add up the debits, acknowledge the deposits, and decide what needs to change. It's never about being perfect. It's about being honest and committed. The balance will shift as soon as you do. Once you've had that honest audit, the moment when you finally see where your habits have been leading you, the next step is to start investing in better habits. Not just patching up the old holes, but building a brand new foundation. That's how you take your life ledger from deficit to surplus. The good news is anyone can do it. And the even better news, you don't have to do it all at once. You see, people often try to change everything overnight. They write out a dozen resolutions, stack up a new routine, and expect to wake up a brand new person. But real transformation doesn't happen in a day. It happens in the small, deliberate shifts, one deposit at a time. The strongest ledgers are built on daily choices, not occasional heroics. So, how do you start? Begin by picking just one new habit, one positive deposit that you know will pay off. Maybe it's getting up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's setting aside time each night to read or plan. The simpler, the better. Make it so easy that you can't talk yourself out of it. Then pay attention to your environment. Habits don't grow in a vacuum. They need the right soil. If you're trying to save money, don't spend time where you're tempted to spend. If you're aiming to eat better, stock your kitchen with healthy choices. If you want to learn more, surround yourself with books or people who challenge you to grow. The right environment makes new habits feel natural, almost automatic. And let's not forget about association. One of the greatest influences on your habits is the company you keep. If you want to build wealth, learn from those who have mastered money. If you want to grow, spend time with people who stretch your thinking. The right friends, mentors, and partners will challenge you to deposit more, expect more, and become more. But here's the key: repetition. Habits are like grooves in a record. The more you play them, the deeper they go. At first, it feels awkward. It might not seem like it's working, but stay with it. One day, what felt difficult becomes automatic. The ledger begins to shift. You start to crave the deposit instead of the debit. Every time you make the right choice, you reinforce the new pathway. Every time you resist the old temptation, you weaken its grip. Don't underestimate the power of small wins. Celebrate them. Let them remind you that every deposit counts, no matter how small. If you slip, don't throw away the ledger. Just pick up where you left off. The habit of recommitting is itself a powerful deposit. You're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for progress. And over time, those new disciplines become your new defaults. The old habits lose their hold, and the new ones take their place. It's the same principle as investing money. Start early, invest often, and let the compound effect do its work. You might not see the return right away, but keep investing in yourself. 1 year from now, you'll look back and marvel at the balance you've built, simply by choosing better habits day by day. So ask yourself, what's one habit you can start investing in today? Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is now. Begin with what you have, where you are, and watch your ledger transform. Now let's pull back and look at the bigger picture. The habit ledger isn't just about money, achievement, or business. No, the richest life is one where the surplus extends far beyond your bank account. The true wealth comes from the deposits you make in character, in kindness, in gratitude, in learning. Those are the assets that pay the greatest dividends. Think for a moment about the people you admire most. Chances are, it's not just because of what they own or what they've achieved. It's because of who they are, how they show up in the world, how they treat others, how they handle adversity. Those qualities aren't accidents. They're the result of countless small deposits made over years. A kind word when it wasn't required, a thoughtful gesture when nobody was